Well, hello, Southern Oregon. Welcome back to the Real Estate Show. So glad you could join us again today. I'm Alice Lema. I'm a broker here in Southern Oregon with John L. Scott Real Estate. I'm your host of the Real Estate Show. And this week, we are so excited to have Guy Giles, our in-house lender from Churchill Mortgage, back on today. He's going to talk about some of the things that happened in the last month or so in the lending world. And it was a big month, wasn't it? So Guy Giles comes on every month to give us our lending update. And he's going to have quite a lot to say, I know. And he's also bringing with him some of the representative team from Hayden Homes. If you don't know Hayden Homes, they are one of the local builders. They're from Oregon. They've been around quite a while, and they have a really amazing not only a new construction, really nice home that they produce, but they also have a really amazing business proposition that helps the community that they build in. So you want to stay tuned for that. New construction, we don't have as much of it as some of the big cities, but what we do have, we're very proud of. And so we're happy to have Hayden Home on the show today with Guy Giles. So speaking of what's going on in our local market, let's talk about what happened this week. We still have more listings coming on the market. In fact, John L. Scott did a special presentation to all of the agents talking about how many more homes there are listed this time this year as there was this time last year, and it's quite substantial. So that's really exciting. And you know, one of the wonderful side effects of that people forget is these are folks that may have wanted to move since before the pandemic shutdown. And why are they choosing now? It's not all gloom and doom, because you know what? A lot of these folks are feeling comfortable putting their home on the market because guess what? They have a place to go. There's more choices now. Now that everybody's starting to put their house on the market, there's more choices. It makes it easier for people to say, you know what? I wanted to move a couple of years ago and I didn't because the world was so weird. Who would guess the world was going to get weirder? But here we are. And you know what? People still want to move. So yeah, I know there's a lot of bad news going on, but I really want to point out that right now, people are starting to sell their home, buy another place. They're upsizing, they're downsizing, they're getting investment property, and they're getting second homes. And Southern Oregon has an awful lot to offer in that second home department. So yay for us. It's not all bad news. So stay tuned for the show. We've got to take a quick break with a word from our sponsors. We're so grateful to John L. Scott here in Ashland and Medford, to Guy Giles of Churchill Mortgage, and to the local Rogue Valley Association of Realtors. We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial. Well, hello, Southern Oregon. Welcome back to the Real Estate Show. So glad you could join us today. I'm Alice Lema. I'm a broker here in beautiful Southern Oregon with John L. Scott Real Estate. And today we have our monthly update from our in-house lender, Guy Giles of Churchill Mortgage. Welcome, Giles.
Hey, thanks. If people have trouble saying Guy and Giles together,
that was me.
Okay.
Sorry, I've only known you for years.
No, I'm glad to be back. I mean, at least now we're starting to see a little bit of relief in the rates, which is kind of nice for a change. I think they've been going up pretty much since November, so we've seen a little bit of pullback here and there. But now it's just kind of nice to be able to talk to people that I've been in communication with, and one of them literally made the difference in being able to buy a house and not in the last couple of days. So hopefully that trend will continue a little bit. I don't think we're out of the woods yet, but one thing that we have been doing a lot of lately, you know, we lost 3,500 houses in our fire down here. I have a group here that I've been doing a lot of business with that builds some really nice new houses, Hayden Homes. So I thought I'd bring them on and we could talk a little bit about, you know, what's going on out there in the building world, because you know, sometimes it's just nice to have a new house and not worry when a storm comes through that the roof's going to come undone or your heater's going to go out. And I think that's just one of the biggest things that's been really nice about closing a lot of these Hayden Homes is just the comfort in that. So a couple of them on here, so it's a little new to have 5 of us on, but we'll do the best we can.
Well, and we're so excited to have Hayden Homes on today. We have Chelsea Matthews from the marketing department, Mark Keating from the sales, and Jeffrey Addington from the community. And I'm a fan of Hayden Homes. Worked with you guys off and on over the years. Let's start. Who would like to start? some of our listeners are not familiar with Hayden Homes. Who would like to talk about kind of where Hayden started?
Yeah, I can take that. So
Chelsea?
Hayden Homes was established in Redmond, Oregon in 1989, and slowly grew and have been building, we've built over 20,000 new homes to price conscious, value driven home buyers. And we're primarily in the underserved secondary markets throughout Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and now Montana. We recently have gone into Montana. And we've been building in the Medford area since 2013. We've built over 400 homes so far down in the Southern Oregon area. And what started off as a little town home builder has really grown into we're now the largest private home builder in the Pacific Northwest.
Wow.
I didn't even know that. That's pretty cool. Nice job.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the really amazing things about doing business with Hayden Homes, and maybe Jeffrey, you might want to address this, is how Hayden Homes puts back into the community.
Yeah, we really do. We put back through the community with our First Story charity. Chelsea is actually really versed in that, but it is a beautiful thing. All the charity dollars that are given are redistributed in our local community. So it is a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, from the beginning, I mean, the spirit of generosity has really been instilled in all of our team members and throughout the community also. We're passionate about investing in the communities in which we build, and we're grateful to be a part of the Medford community. We've been honored and proud to support various nonprofits throughout the I-5, and one specifically in the Medford area, our CASA Access, the Children's Advocacy Center of Jackson County. And every time that somebody chooses to purchase a Hayden home, they are providing a family the opportunity for home ownership without government assistance, and putting and changing the trajectory of family by breaking that cycle of poverty. And what I really mean by that is that there's a charitable covenant in our contracts. And First Story was thoughtfully planned with a sustainable funding source to ensure that the good work of nonprofit would continue in perpetuity. So every time somebody purchases a Hayden home, 1/8 of 1% of the sales price is then generously donated to First Story each time that home is sold. So right now we're looking, about $450,000 to $500,000. That donation is about $500 to $575, depending on the home purchase. And that charitable donation is given in the name of the buyer. And so Hayden Homes puts that donation in the name of the buyer. And then when that buyer decides to sell their home, that charitable covenant is always in the contract. So it goes forward in perpetuity. And so it's a never-ending cycle, and the donations made on every home sale then go back to the nonprofits in the same county in which the home was sold.
And it's not really a lot of money. And I remember the first time I worked with Hayden, that was a surprise because we didn't know it. And then to find out it's deeded and it goes into the property permanently and it gets recycled over and over again. And it really isn't much. How much would it be, let's say, on a $400,000 home?
It would be $500.
Yeah. So that's really a minuscule amount, and it's automatic. So, but it really adds up to the people who benefit from that charity.
Yeah, sure.
If you just did the math on that, over 10,000 houses, hopefully 20,000, if I'm not speaking out of turn here, that's about $10 million. I'm a math guy, so I can't help it. When I hear something like that, I every time I turn around, I go to a fundraiser, I go to something. Hayden Homes sponsored it, and it seems to me like they really are vested in the community, and that's what's important. Yeah, for obvious reasons, we're a small town here, and it's just kind of a cool thing because, like I said, I see their name everywhere. They're always doing the same things.
Yeah. So let's talk to Mark about sales. How are things going with you and the I-5 and Hayden Homes with the interest rates and the weird economy?
Yeah, it is weird. Weird's probably the best word for it right now. Honestly, there's been lots of changes, lots of ups and downs. Honestly, this is the part that we're good at. Is Hayden Homes is just fantastic at riding through the low points, at excelling during the high points, and meeting everywhere in the middle. We've seen definitely some challenges, and we've seen a lot of people who have maybe had some fears about the weird market. And one of the best things that we can do is to partner with trusted lenders like Guy, just having somebody who's an expert and who can really explain, there's really something for everybody that you can do out there, depending on what your financial needs are. So the best time is always going to be now, and having those resources like Guy to be able to back that up is really helpful, especially when you have customers who either aren't super well versed on those things, they're really just looking for the home, aren't super familiar with all the financing details, or if it's just, someone who's maybe this is their fifth home that they're buying, or it's an investment. The lenders have been great partners in helping with that kind of thing.
So are the Hayden home projects allowed to be rentals? Like, can somebody buy them as an investment?
They can buy them as an investment. We do try to keep them within limits, so we don't ever want it to be more than 20 to 25% of them to be rentals, but we do offer them as rentals, not short-term rentals, however.
Right. But yeah, because we do have a rental shortage as well, but not all subdivisions, have that option. So Mark, going back to what you were speaking to, what was the reaction from your buyers to the huge sudden interest rate increases?
Really, it's affordability. They really want to know, number one, how are my monthly payments changing, and is this still going to be affordable? And so that's where we usually tell people that we're well versed in the financial aspect of things, but the real mortgage expert would be someone like Guy. So getting them in touch with this third party and saying, hey, this is a great resource that you can use to figure out how has my monthly payment possibly changed, and if it has, are there ways to either reduce it to where it was at before with some of we have a really great limited time offer that we have right now. It's called the Summer Savings Program. That gives you the ability to use some of that money towards buying down your interest rate. You can use it towards closing costs, so that's cash in your pocket. So everyone has a different situation, whether it's I want a lower monthly payment, or I want more cash in hand because I got a new big screen TV or a new couch I have to buy. So there's always something, but it's figuring out what they need and then just adjusting based on that.
Oh, that's interesting. So Guy, how does that work when somebody wants to buy a brand new home and they come to you, because new construction is different, isn't it?
Yeah, well, one way we've kind of used it in the past, and it's funny because when we talk about how they knew ahead of things, they really seem to. Jeff and I first started having this conversation, and they'd already had this summer, this limited offering for a little while. We actually used it to buy down some of these rates recently that was, and do a 9-month lock, and just it covered pretty much the whole cost for everything and got them into a house. So we did that along with our, kind of our long locking program. So I think anybody that's in the business does anticipate at some point in the next 8 months, 6 months for rates to drop down again. Just kind of a cycle with the Fed that I have to get into the quick an hour to explain. But if the rates are lower at that point, we can float them down to that rate, and we don't have to charge them anything extra. But at least you're kind of buffered, and every time you get on, turn on the news and somebody talks about inflation, you're not worried about that piece going up at all. And again, being in a new house and you're not having to budget for, again, heating system going out or new paint on the outside, you have a brand new, nicely built house that, is ready to go for a lot of years. So you can just kind of, again, buffer yourself against the inflation and just the cost. And I think once you just have a clear example of what you're getting into in the beginning, there's a whole lot of comfort in that too. So anyway, that's how I've used it, basically to kind of buy down the rate a little bit, which helps. In the next segment, we can talk a little bit about, even in this challenging market with rates going up a little bit, how in some ways it's actually better than what we were dealing with. I know that's
Really?
extreme. It's not just a teaser, but it literally can translate to something better than what we were doing before.
So did I hear you correctly that you were thinking that interest rates might go down?
They will. The Fed's got we have a really kind of a weird Fed right now. It hasn't actually done a regular job. So it's a little bit of a unique situation, but right now they're just putting bullets back in their gun, for lack of a better word. They've bought about $9 trillion worth of mortgage-backed securities. So they have quite a bit between selling that off and just basic inflation. People have been a little bit more reluctant to get into something for 30 years. So the rates have been going up. What'll happen is after we get thrown into this recession for a couple of quarters, is they'll start dropping down the rates. They'll start pumping some money back into the mortgage-backed securities. And at that point, we have a system rates getting better.
Well, that would be stellar, wouldn't it, folks?
Oh, yeah.
It's a very predictable pattern over the last 70 years. So I can come up with some graphs on this so we can show up at least on the YouTube part of it.
Yeah. So we have a break coming up, but we have a couple of seconds. Mark, I wanted to just ask you, when people come in and talk to you about purchasing a Hayden home, how long does it take for them to actually get one built?
That's a great question. Yeah, typically the cycle time, we call it, from say start to finish. So Alice, you come in, you meet with Jeff today, and you're ready to buy a home. You'd be looking at about 6 months from start to finish before we'd hand over the keys to you.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Well, we've got a lot more questions. We're talking to Guy Giles of Churchill Mortgage and Hayden Homes, Jeffrey Addington from Community, Chelsea Matthews from Marketing, and Mark Keating from Sales. So please stay tuned. We've got lots more great information about Hayden Homes. So don't touch that dial. We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. Well, hi again, everybody. Alice Lema here, broker John L. Scott in Southern Oregon, here talking to Hayden Homes and Guy Giles from Churchill Mortgage. We're so happy to have the crew from Hayden Homes. We've got Jeff Addington, who's sales and community. We've got Chelsea Matthews from marketing and Mark Keating from sales management. And right before the break, we were talking a little bit about the building process and how long it takes. But Jeff, what happens if somebody comes running into your office and they just can't wait? They can't wait to get a home.
Usually the vast majority we have are going to take about 6 months out, but the time right now, we actually have some really good opportunities where we have some homes that are going to be finishing up end of summer. I actually have a home that's going to be finished in 45 days. So there are some good options there as well for people that need to get in quickly and be able to lock the rates immediately.
Wow, that's awesome. So 45 days, that's about an escrow. Like that's about how long it would take to close on a house anyway.
Yeah. So that's the great thing is you can get a brand new home. Oftentimes a little bit of the trade-off is you have to wait longer for a new home. There's a lot of benefits with the new home, obviously with the warranty, with being able to, have everything brand new and not have to fix anything as soon as you move in, just like Guy talked about before. But so often the trade-off is you have to wait a little bit longer. Right now, we do have those opportunities where you can get right in within that 45-day time period.
Wow, that's amazing. And when I drive by the subdivisions that you're creating, they're not only beautiful, but they're easy to get in and out of. Can you speak to any of the planning and organizing that you guys do up front?
So, yeah, I mean, for the most part, yeah, we're always going to have multiple exits going out. Our larger community is going to have 3 or 4 exits going out. We do have, we're building in Delta Estates. That's like a 350 home community.
Oh, wow.
So
where is that?
that's right off of, it's off of Springbrook. We're off of Owen. So if you go down,
okay.
Yeah, and it's nestled back there. It's a really awesome community. We're going to be we have about 100 more left there. And, great views of Roxanne. It's a really cool place to be. It feels a little bit off the beaten path, kind of out of town. In fact, a lot of people that live there have told me that they didn't even know it was there because it's kind of set back. So it's a really cool place to be. The other community that we have going right now, we only have about 6 home sites left there. It's a 22 home site community. Carrera Hills, and that's going to be right over by Donahue Frohnmeyer Park.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and that's another great location as well. So yeah, we got a lot going on in Medford, and we're looking for more if you know any.
You mean you want more land?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
we can do more land.
Okay, you hear that, listeners? Anybody have large lots to sell? Hayden wants to talk to you. So going back to the actual sales portion, how many of your clients that purchase in Medford, how many are from the area? Because I get asked this all the time, for new construction, who's moving in here and are they locals or did they come from out of the state?
I would say, I mean, really, we have a really good mix. Chelsea might have a bird's eye view of it, but I would say it's almost 50-50, probably 60% from Oregon and 40% from other places.
Wow.
Surprisingly, and I don't know why this is, but the majority of the people that I get, if I was looking at one destination, it would be Sacramento, California. I don't know why I see so many people coming from Sacramento, but yeah.
I was just about to say that. So we do all sorts of digital tracking on our website, and Sacramento is definitely the #1 place in the California area that we're seeing folks coming from. And the Bay Area also.
Yes.
We're seeing people from the Bay Area wanting to come up because the weather is so similar to certain parts of California.
Yeah.
And homes are a lot less than they are in California. Recently, we have seen a few people from like Colorado and Arizona, but Jeff hit it right on the head. Is about 50% is still local, which is great because that's who we're really, we're wanting to build affordable homes for people in the underserved secondary markets, and so we definitely love to still see the local community purchasing versus all the Californians.
Well, and there's nothing like a brand new home. Oh my gosh. So, so when someone is purchasing a home, how much influence do they get over the floor plan, the materials, the size? How does all that work when you're purchasing from Hayden?
So really the nice thing is we're not a custom builder. We don't say we're a custom builder, but the beautiful thing, especially if you're building, we call pre-sale, is you have the choice of home site, you have the choice of plan, and you have the choice of all the different amenities that go within that if you want. And so depending on which cabinets you want or which countertops or those type of things, we can make all those selections right at contract. And then it gives you the flexibility too. So if you are trying to get into a certain price point, you don't have to take the fireplace if you don't want a fireplace. So, you can kind of get into a budget that you're looking to get into by selecting those different features.
Oh, that's awesome. So you get a little bit of influence either direction.
Yes.
Wow, that's great. A lot of builders don't do that. They say, this is it. Take it or leave it.
Yeah. If you don't want a fireplace, too bad. You have a fireplace and you're paying for it.
Yeah.
So for us,
yeah.
That choice is really an important factor of who we are.
Mm-hmm. And how many, what's the ratio of single story to 2-story?
That is an interesting question, and it has changed since the pandemic. Originally,
has it really?
It really has. Originally, we were a single story kind of development. We worked hard to sell those 2-story homes, but they were a little bit harder to move. As of late, people wanting more space, people wanting, the Zoom rooms or, that extra space. Even more so, what I've been noticing is multi-generational living is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've been, the last probably 7 homes that I've sold, maybe 5 of them have been multi-generational setups. And the nice thing is we have floor plans where, 2,400 or 3,000 square feet plans that actually have dual master setups. That
wow.
So they're really nice setup to be able to offer, people that have multiple generations living in one home.
Mm-hmm. And since you're such a large outfit, Hayden Homes, such a big company, Chelsea, you mentioned that you were tracking some of the data. So did Hayden decide to start adding larger floor plans and multiple masters?
So we have about 42 home plans that we can choose from with any given community that we have. And usually we try to have anywhere from 5 to 7 home plans in each community that we build. And so some of the home plans that we have already had like main level master or main level living and then upper junior suite, or the option to do 2 dual main suites. And it's really easy for us to add those into a community. So for instance, with our Carrera Hills community off of Springbrook, that only had 4 home plans in there. And there were 2 single story, 2 multi-story. And then we noticed this multi-generational families coming in and needing more space, needing multiple main suites. And so we added in the Stone Ridge Encore, which is almost 2,500 square feet. And they have the option to either do a loft playroom on one side of the house.
Oh,
They can convert
nice.
that into a junior suite, that has a walk-in closet and a big sleeping area and an ensuite bathroom with the vanity, the toilet, and the tub shower setup. So it's really been easy for us to be able to add those in as we see the market shifting. It's something that we can easily add. And with the way that the market is right now and the shift in the market, we're also leaning on the other side too, is how can we bring in more affordability and bring in maybe introducing smaller square footage plans and seeing if that brings in, those more first-time home buyers, and just to have another product offering that's more affordable for those first-time home buyers.
Well, and I think that's very sensitive of Hayden Homes as a corporation. And again, just your sheer size allows you to be more nimble and more accurate with your data collection. People complain about, the data collection, but here is good data being put to good use.
Right.
And I think that it just speaks so highly of Hayden Homes. So that brings another question to Guy. As a lender, if somebody goes into escrow on a new construction project and then they start changing things halfway through, how does that affect the financing, or does it?
Well, it hasn't really been an issue with us because you're really looking at them appraising the house. So I mean, obviously, if you're doing something that's so outlandish, that doesn't really compare to anything else around, if you run into trouble, that just doing some modifications and additions, we've had no trouble with, I don't think ever, with Hayden Home appraising at all, because they do try to do this kind of the I don't want to call it the Costco approach, but you go in and it's what 90% of the people want is what they're building. And
oh, I see.
It appeals to everybody, so it's going to comp out really well with other houses, and plus they generate their own comps. It's kind of like making their own weather in there because they build so many houses, but they're just nice. I don't know, just ones that kind of fit everybody, and we've had no trouble at all as far as them doing any kind of additions or anything like that to the houses.
Well, and that's a really good point. If they're creating homes that appeal to the majority of the buyers out there, then the risk to the lender is like nothing, really.
Well, the nice thing is they're always thinking ahead. I mean, I've been dealing with, I don't even know how long I've been trying to do it with these guys. And just now, when she's talking about a little bit smaller house, they're analyzing things and they're doing things to look forward, and so they don't really get caught behind that something that is not going to appraise because they're forward thinking in that way. I don't even have any nice things, Jeff. I just kind of like you do, but
yeah.
Anyway.
So how do you lock in a rate when you have a 3 to 6 month project? How does that work?
We just do it right off the contract, and we just do an extra long lock. It costs a little bit more to have an extra lock because we don't know what's going to happen with rates. And I do think probably on some of these long locks, by the time this thing happens, we're going to be pleasantly surprising people with rates that are actually lower than they're locking into right now. But it's just like with anything. When we talk about 6 months to build a house, I mean, it's pretty much 6 months to build a truck. Right? You walk down and try to order a new car, and then you go and you buy an asset that's just depreciating the whole time. It's just, I don't know. I mean, with rates going, up or down, whichever direction they're going to go, people are going to need a place to live. So I think it's just always a good investment to do that, buffer yourself against just all the rising costs of rents. I think they average about 7%, probably a lot more than that with the fires that we've had. But it's just, I don't know, it's kind of just works out. We just lock them in. And I mean, there's just not a whole lot to it. Then if rates are lower, we give them the lower rate. But look, I'm the guy that's been on the radio forever. I'm the one
that's true.
But I do think that's a key point. What Guy is making is you know what your limit is going to be with, like, okay, this is the payment, but if rates are lower in 6 months, then you get that free float down. So it's a pretty cool option there.
Yep. And we've got a quick break coming up. We're talking to Guy Giles, Churchill Mortgage, and Hayden Homes. Do not touch that dial. We'll be right back. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Real Estate Show. I'm Alice Lema. I'm a broker here in Southern Oregon with Giles Real Estate. And we are having a fabulous conversation with the crew from Hayden Homes, one of our local new construction home builders. We've got Jeff Addington, who is the local salesperson, Chelsea Matthews of marketing, and Mark Keating of the sales management. And of course, Guy Giles, our local in-house lender here today from Churchill Mortgage. And right before we were switching into this segment, Mark, you were talking about a lot of the questions you get asked are timing. What kind of questions are you getting from people about timing?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. A lot of people right now are asking us, is it still a good time to buy a home? You guys are the experts. What do you think? Should we wait? Because maybe prices, they can't keep going up forever, and maybe rates can come down. And, there's always going to be that question, even in the hottest markets, and there will always be some uncertainty. But, I heard something from a financial advisor of mine that helped me a few years ago that's really stuck with me. Everyone probably on this team has heard me say it, or we can speak intelligently about it. But, he basically said it's kind of like trying to time the stock market. I mean, you can try and get at that low point where you're at the best spot, or you want to avoid the higher point. But historically, real estate is one of the safest investments you can make, especially building a new home. And so you're building instant equity as soon as you start going. And so there may be slightly better times than others to buy, but in general, what this person told me was, when you've got the money, that's when you should do it. That's when you should invest in it. There's always going to be questions on your mind, and that's what people like Jeff are able to help with when you come visit the community. But once you're able to do it, you should go for it, because you'll usually see a return in the long run, and that's what's really important to people.
I totally agree. Trying to time things, even investors don't do that well. And it's just, you need a home, you need a place to live. So, and who doesn't want a brand new house, for goodness sakes?
Even if you go back 6 months, I mean, think about the environment we were in. I mean, other than house prices going up, which is a big factor. If you have 4 people going in and bidding for a house, next thing you know, you're $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 over where you started because you're bidding against everybody else. The rates might be lower, but think about how much time it would take to get that other $50,000 in equity. Even if your house is appraised and everything is good, you still paid $50,000 more than where that thing started. So having a little bit of a higher rate isn't necessarily the worst timing in the world, because now you're able to catch these guys in their summer sale, as far as that. I'll let them talk about that afterwards. But you also are not bidding up against everybody, and if you're paying just a little bit higher in rate, again, you're going to be a lot better off, without waiting years and years and years for that thing to appreciate out, then you would be getting into a big bidding war. So a lot of ways, right now is a really good time to jump in when it's not that kind of a frenzy.
Right. And the prices are coming down, at least in what we call the resale, the existing homes. What's going on with the prices in your subdivisions? If that was delicate enough.
Yeah, so we've actually been holding prices steady, but we do have the incentive that we talked about before, the summer savings incentive. And like I said, I haven't cleared this with marketing, but it is, I like to call it 10K your way. So that's $10,000 any way that you would like to use it. If you wanted to use it off, towards upgrades, you can do that. If you want to buy down the rate, you can do that, longer locks. So it is a pretty good situation, like I was saying, where, before people were paying $50,000 over asking price to get into a home. Now you can actually get the 10,000 summer savings, put that toward the rates, get down lower. And so I do think that in that way, it is a really good time to buy.
10K your way. And that can go toward closing costs. What else? Part of the house itself.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But really, the buyer can use it however they need it. What do you need the most? And where will $10,000 help you the most? Whether that's closing costs, upgrades, whether you want that third car garage, and this 10,000 will help you get there.
Yeah.
Locking the rate, really whatever you need it for.
Can it go for countertops or tile showers?
Yeah, and you can split it too. So say maybe you only
Really?
want $5,000 to go towards upgrades, and you can use the other 5,000 to lock a rate or put towards closing costs.
Wow. Wow. So you can use it to buy down a rate as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
And going back to
Wow.
what Mark said about, the perfect time or not. I bought this house up on Hillcrest years ago, $137,000. I thought, man, this is a bad time. Shouldn't be doing this right now. I had every excuse in the world to maybe not buy that house. I did, and I owned it through the biggest crash since the depression. And now, it's a $480,000 house that I have. And I don't say that to mean that I'm super wise. I'm saying that to say that I was scared when I bought that house. I didn't know if that was the right time. I didn't know, if I could afford it, whatever. I'd buy 100 of them for that price. But knowing that I had it through some of the toughest years in the housing industry, and it's still, whether it dips and goes up really fast or not, it is always on a trajectory where it's going up in value. So getting in is really half the game. You just got to get in the game.
So what's so interesting about that story, Guy, is I'm really curious, why did you go ahead and pull the trigger when you weren't sure if you could afford it, when you weren't sure it was the right time? What made you decide to buy that house that many years ago? What was the tipping point?
To be honest, it was a neighborhood that my wife and I used to drive around in, like right out of high school. And it's like, someday we want to live in this neighborhood.
Oh, wow.
And it was the first house that ever came up in that neighborhood. So honestly,
Awesome.
it wasn't like a well thought through plan. It was just, I don't know.
But I think it helps for people to hear those stories because, we're all in the same boat when we're buying. We all have the same anxiety. Even if you've purchased 39 homes in your lifetime, we still have those sleepless nights, asking the same question. Should I do it? Should I do it now? Am I spending too much money?
Yeah, and you definitely don't want to go outside of what you can afford. And thankfully, with the lending standards the way they are right now, you really won't. We can work with you. There's some different ways to buy down the rates, with the money, do whatever.
Mhm.
But ultimately, I think if you just look back, I don't think there's many people that would look back and say, man, I wish that, I'm really glad I didn't buy 10 years ago, because it's just always something that's going to be an asset for 20% of something. Say you put $100,000 down on a $500,000 house, instead of trying to get 42 cents in the bank by having 100,000, and then they have $500,000 growing over there. Plus, you're going to need a place to be anyway. I mean, really, at the end of the day, we all have to have a place to go. So if the numbers work, I think it's just a good time to be in your own house.
But even if you don't have $100,000 down, can't you purchase a brand new Hayden home for less of a percentage down?
Absolutely. That was just the kind of the first number that popped into my head as far as that.
For those of us who don't have 100,000, what's the minimum? We've just got a few seconds left.
If you're a first time home buyer, minimum is 3%. If you can get to at least 5%, it's going to be kind of the best deal. We have some grant programs and some different things that we can talk to about people also, but that'd be getting into the weeds probably a little further than you guys want to get right now.
Well, we're just going to have you all back. This is really great. I love Hayden Homes. Guy Giles, thank you for bringing them on. Guy Giles, Churchill Mortgage. We've got Jeffrey Addington, who's our local Hayden Homes rep. We've got Chelsea Matthews of marketing, and Mark Keating from sales management. We will repeat this broadcast on Sunday at 6 p.m. Have a beautiful Southern Oregon weekend. Bye, folks.